And today we have Everyone Hates Me, Pooping Naked in a Workman, and Cut My Dick Off. Big episode.
When there's stuff on your mind and it's feeling unclear, just hop on the mic and speak without fear. Let's air out.
Woohoo! I just thought it was fucking smoky in here. What's going on, ladies and folks? As you can see in the video, there's a little cloud around me. Little Nick hit pre-podcast, get the brain juices flowing. Happy August, everybody. The first air and air out that takes place in August. Almost 4 weeks away from the 1 year start of air and air out. That's gonna be a big one, big episode. We got some juicy plans for that one. But yeah, and if you realize it's August 1st, it also means that's Monday, which means that I put off this podcast once again. So just sticking to routines. But the thing about my procrastination is that I still always get it done, and I think that's the key. You can procrastinate as long as you get your work done. I think that's the real trick here. So 2 o'clock, August 1st, holiday. I did work today, but since it's a civic holiday, I like to just string those words together. Because it's a civic holiday, no holiday pay. So I know that every dollar I earned today was just hard earned by myself. You know, no bonus holiday pay. Got to do some hard labor raking bunkers, and I feel gratified for it. Without that government handout of holiday pay, who wants a time and a half anyways? So just very rewarding morning today. But just spent all morning doing this motion, as you can see. If you've never raked a bunker before, it's a lot like sweeping. So you kind of like stick it into the sand, you push it, and then right before you're done, you lift up and just toss the little speckles of sand up the side of the bunker, kind of like spreading all the sand from the middle where it's thickest up the sides, because it'll just like run back down. So we do that every single day, raking bunkers. Every single bunker gets raked. Today was my turn, which is actually the first time I've had to rake a bunker in the morning since like they taught all of us way back in May or something. But just an absolute machine I am. In the past 2 days, there's a club championship going on at the workplace, at the Westmount workplace. And they were teeing off of 10 and 1 the last 2 days, like the 10th tee box and the first tee box, because they had like a lot more people, I guess. And then now they cut the group down. They're just teeing off the first tee box. So the last 2 days, they had 3 people starting on bunkers, and today they're like, hey, we'll just stick Aaron by himself. And I took that personally as a challenge. I wanted to now outpace my teammates that have, we were leaving by like 9 o'clock because they're teeing off at 8:30, and they want us out of there because they want us to not exist and like pretend that there's no grounds crew that keeps this course looking beautiful. They want to just like lock us away in a shed and ignore us completely. So left by like 9 o'clock the last 2 days, starting at 6. So today I'm like, okay, we're gonna keep that the same. And I tell you, I hustled those bunkers. I was flying through them. I did the first 7 holes, which the way the bunkers are set up at Westmount, it's kind of like, when you're making a big sign, or, a normal size sign too, and you're using like big letters, but you don't plan out well enough to fit all the letters in the full space. Like the last letter, you're like, oh shit, I don't have room width-wise to get all the letters in here. So you're like jam the last E or the R or whatever, like up top or like down below somewhere slanted, and just like tightly squeeze it in there. Like it's just like a baby compressed in an otter box. It's kind of like that, where Westmount's like, hey, the first 9 holes, we got like 37 bunkers fit in. And then they realized, oh my God, there's still 9 more holes to go, and we only have 20 bunkers left. So the first 9 holes are just jam-packed, like 5 bunkers per hole. Then the last 9 are like two bunkers. Some holes have like 4 and some have 1. 1 is 0, so yeah. Cooked through the front 9, which is way harder, way more annoying, bigger bunkers, and more of them. And then young Liam Calhoun finally joined me, who he himself, we've talked about Liam in the bunkers, and my God, there are flies all over. We'll talk about the flies in a second. Liam Calhoun, you might think you know where this story is going. Liam in a bunker, bad news, he's not going to rake anything. But I tell you, that guy is just an absolute rakist. He just gets in a bunker and just gyrates like a Sibian machine, just tossing sand all over in the bunker. It's like a little Tasmanian devil ripping around there, and then before you know it, the bunker's all raked. And I'm more of like a speed and power, like a hockey player. I got hockey player, he got Sibian machine. That's my compliment to him. But me and the Calhouns work great in bunkers, actually. A few weeks ago, I did bunkers with Allie in the morning, and the same thing. We just flew through them, just the two of us, just destroying the course in like a good way, in like a speed and power kind of way, not in like this course now looks like garbage kind of way. So yeah, me and Liam got through a ton more bunkers when he finished up, and then we still wrapped up by 9 o'clock. So I had the speed of a 3-man bunker crew all by myself, and the body is feeling it. The body's aching. We have been on the workout train. We've set a nice like streak of 3 days working out last week. Me, myself, and Martin and Ethan. Me, myself, Martin, and Ethan. Yeah. And yesterday we did deadlifts and bench press. So like the back was already like, it's been worked. And then just that motion of raking the bunkers, it's like a full body because you want to toss that sand. So it's like sweep, step, and you just get that faster and faster. So it's like a full body motion. So like the body is just, it's tight, it's aching, but in like a good way. It's not like a soreness where it like prevents you from wanting to do anything. It's more like a soreness that makes you aware that you're like, your muscles have been worked and it feels like good and satisfying. So it was tough leaving work today, but now that I woke up after a little nap, I'm feeling fresh and firm. I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling good. And it's also nice that since we've set up, like, we've kind of like started a streak of working out, and now it's like, it's a lot easier to do it. Whereas before it's kind of like sporadic. We'd like work out once, and then it'd be like raining on our next workout day, and then it'd be like 5 days between our workouts, and then no one would really want to do it. And then, so this is like the first time we've actually gotten like consistent with it. And I think it's gonna be a lot easier now because it's kind of like fit into the routine. And as always, there's 3 of us doing it. So it's kind of like, everyone's holding each other accountable. No one wants to be the odd man out that doesn't want to do it. So you just, as soon as you start doing it, it feels way better. I've definitely like woken up from a nap, after work. We got the 4 o'clock yoga still before our lifting sessions. And I'm just like, I'm lying in bed at 3:55 and I'm like, oh, just go back to sleep and just sleep through it. Don't do it. But then, a little birdie in my head just says, hey, just get up and do it. And feel great for doing it. Honestly, feel fantastic. Feel, in the prime of my life. And the more I work out, the bigger I'm going to get. And just, I'm not going to be able to fit in this frame anymore soon. I'm going to have to get a wide angle lens just to fit these traps. It's going to be insane. Man, yeah, look at these flies. I forgot that I had a bag of onions left over from October sitting on it was on the bottom shelf. So like I never looked down there and just completely forgot about them. So they're just fruit flies. There are fruit flies all over the kitchen. And now they're all over my bedroom. I gotta get some apple cider vinegar or something in here. But yeah, that reminds me, I also have to go clean up that the shelf down there because there's like black old onion down there. And in here, I just got like a shawarma poutine container and a Subway bag that I should get out of my room. So if you see any flies or me swatting around in this video, or you hear me slapping something, it's just me battling nature. But I said I was gonna talk about the tournament today, and I kind of don't want to because I've got other things I want to talk about. I kind of teased it in the intro. Everyone hates me pooping naked in a workman and cutting my dick off. And the thing that those all have in common is they were dreams. Gotcha. Baited. Which, I mean, if they weren't dreams, that'd be a hell of a podcast episode. Where was I going with that? But, yeah. They were all dreams I had. I had one, like, a week ago, and I wrote it down. So, like, okay, that's one of Sana's questions was, have you had any wild dreams lately? Could you tell us one? And this has kind of been like a thing in the older podcast where I talk about my my vivid, lucid dreams, which I have them pretty frequently. Although when I got back on smoking weed, I guess I wasn't having the dreams, and there's a big gap in the podcast. But now that we got this little nicotine ditty, one of the crazy effects of it is that it gives you incredibly vivid and wild dreams. I had three big boys just like getting wilder each time. Each iteration, the dream got better and better. So let me grab my phone, and we can just dive right in to Aaron's dream journal. I don't know if these, I know people like often hate hearing about people's dreams, but these aren't like I'm not trying to deceive some kind of like message from these dreams and like some inspiration. These are just like wild things that happen, and like my brain produces these. I don't know why my brain produces such weird things when I'm dreaming, but The first dream was the dream I had that everyone hated me. And I'd gone home to Barrie, and I'd unpacked my car. And this is in the dream, by the way. We are now in dream territory, so everything I say is a work of fiction that was produced by Aaron Arout's brain. So I'd just gone home, unpacked my car, and was talking to my parents. And my parents were like, hey, we were thinking maybe it'd be better if you actually went and stayed up with Reed for this weekend, you know? We kind of, I don't know why they didn't want me to stay with them, but they're like, after I had unpacked all my stuff, they're like, hey, why don't you go stay with Reed for the weekend? You know, he's got that new condo, you can go sleep on his couch or something. And I got really mad at that. I was like, you guys are abandoning me. You don't love me. I can't believe this. I'm never going to come back and talk to you guys again. I got heated at them. And I think this came from because I've been watching Malcolm in the Middle, and like Francis and Lois are like always going at odds. So I think I had that in my head because I usually watch that right before going to bed. So then I just like got in a heated argument with my parents over that. And I was getting really angry at them. And Robbie's brother was there. Okay, yeah, this is gonna be the toughest dream to recall because it did happen the longest ago. But after that whole argument with my parents, I don't know if I actually went to Reed's house, but like the main portion of the dream I remember took place. We were in like a classroom, and it was just filled with like it's like a TV. It's like the South Park episode where they have like they go to the YouTube headquarters and they have like all like cartoons of like the Chocolate Rain guy, the Star Wars kid. Like there's just like all these characters on these different videos. It was like that, except it was just like different people from my life were all like people from work, old friends, family members. We're all in this classroom together, and it was nighttime outside. And I wrote down there's a guy I worked with named Robbie, who I golfed with yesterday, and his brother was there. Except I've never met his brother before. I just know that they're twins. So it was like I looked and it's like, oh hey Robbie, what's going on? It's like, no, I'm not Robbie, I'm Barrett. And he had a jean jacket on and a nose piercing with really long hair. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That's why you're not Robbie. So yeah, my parents and my sister were both like very angry at me, and everyone else in the dream was like hated me, just livid at me, except for Aliana Sofia Vergara Calhoun. She was on my side and telling me, kept trying to convince me, because I wasn't like certain that I was in a dream. In this dream, I remember like recognizing while I'm in it that there's kind of like a vignette around my vision in my dream, like a vignette, like so it's like kind of black on the sides and then like gradients into like softness, and then like my central vision was clear, but everything around it was like dark. And that was my key, like seeing that my vision was that way, that I'm in a dream. However, everyone else was trying to like in the dream was trying to convince me like, Aaron, this is not a dream. This is real. This is happening right now. And let me just read what I wrote. Dream that everyone hated me and was trying to convince me it was not a dream. Robbie's brother, jean jacket, nose piercing, long hair. My parents and sister. Aliana was on my side. I was trying to wake up and nothing was working. That's true. Because I was like I said, I was just like adamant to all these like dream figures that like, this is not real. I was doing wild stuff. I was like punching people in the face. I was throwing stuff around, just making a full ruckus. And they're all like, Aaron, you're throwing your life away. You're destroying this place all for nothing. So I decided to pull out my phone in the dream. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to look at my past texts, and then I'll know, because I know what the last text I sent was. And if that matches up to my phone, then we're Gucci. And I pull out my phone, and I don't know I think I looked at a text to Will, and I don't remember what the text said, because I think I heard a thing where like in dreams you can't actually see like letters and like words aren't real, but like in the dream you still understand them, you know? So I looked at my text and like that looks like the last text I sent, actually, that not knowing it was not. I don't know the last time I texted Will, because it was just, we talk on Messenger and stuff. So I was reading my text on my phone, and that kind of like, okay, I started like kind of believing that maybe this is a dream. Went home, my parents said stay at Reed, so we argued. I felt the haze, and I knew it was a dream, and I was just fucking with everyone in the dream, knowing there was no consequences. And there was like a bit in there. There's a while that I did finally believe like, okay, this is a dream. It does feel very real. Everything that's happening makes sense. So I was like ready to just like live in this world and like live with the consequences, how I've just pissed off everybody. But then I ended up waking up, and it wasn't a dream. So I mean, that was the most boring one. It was much more vivid in my head, but it's kind of one of those dreams where it's hard to like explain when you wake up. Like what I wrote down there was very tough. But the next dream, so that was everyone hated me. Kind of a boring one, not gonna lie, but we started worst to best. So the second dream took place at work, And I've talked about these workmen before. They're like, how do you explain it? It's like a open top. There's no doors on it. Big flatbed with a hydraulic lift. You can look it up, like a Toro workman. You can find them. But in my dream, there were like high doors on this thing. I was kind of like in a box. Like I was in a box with the walls up to my shoulders, driving this around. Again, not at Westmount, but I was driving around like in a big grassy field, and like out in front of me, like in my peripherals, there was like a bunch of my coworkers just like driving around in different vehicles and walking around and doing all sorts of things. And I was driving by myself, and I felt the urge that I had to go poopy. And I was like, well, since I'm covered up to my shoulders in this workman, I can just poop in the workman. However, I didn't want to like get poop on my clothes. So first I decided that while driving, I'm going to take all my clothes off, still doing work. So I get fully naked, stick my clothes in the back, and then ended up pooping like in the bottom of the workman. But just an enormous amount of poop ended up coming out. Like I was like in poop up to my knees, not my knees, my nipples, just filled with like a hail, like baseball sized, hail of like poop and turds, and just like a messy pit was now below me, filled with poop. And that's when I was like, oh man, this might have been a bad idea. Now I'm just driving around naked in a workman filled with sitting my own feces. And I'm like, man, if someone catches me, this is gonna be a tough one to explain. I don't know how I'm gonna get away with this. So I'm like driving, and I think I'm like, okay, if I can just get to the garbage dump, I can empty out my poop load, I can put my clothes back on, no one's the wiser. So I'm just making my way, kind of like waving everyone away so that no one drives over to come talk to me, because that's like people love to come talk to me at work. I'm a very entertaining man, very popular, very, very popular. And I run out of gas. I run out of gas driving, and I'm like, oh no, this is horrible, because I'm gonna have to call someone to have them bring over a jerry can and fill me up, and they're gonna catch me at my lowest point. But luckily, I guess I decided I'm just gonna coast it and see how far we can make it, and it was coasting for a long time. We were not going downhill either. We were going flat, and it was just rolling at like 10 kilometers an hour, just going fine. And I'm like, okay, and now I know I'm gonna stop at some point, so I gotta start dealing with this poop. So I start just like taking armfuls and scoopfuls and like hucking them over the side of the workman, just dumping poop behind me as I'm rolling slowly, kind of like I'm bailing out a canoe, except instead of water, it's hunking masses of turds, just dumping it out. And finally I bail all the poop out, and there's just a big thick trail of like turd all behind me. And then I get my clothes back on, and they're all covered in poop as well. And then I woke up, and that was my second dream. Not really sure what the message of that one is. Like the one where everyone hated me, it's kind of like, I feel like everyone has that thought every now and then that, maybe people don't like you as much as they do. I've had that conversation with Aliana before, that like, what if you're actually super disabled, and that's why everyone's super nice to you? Like you don't realize how much autism you have, and you're actually like, it's pity like that's why everyone likes you, and they don't actually like you. But this whole pooping in the workman thing, I don't know where that came from. I think I did have to poop at the time, so it's kind of like that thing where like we have to pee while you're asleep, and then like in your dream you think about peeing and you have to pee. I had those dreams a lot where like I have to pee, and then I'm just constantly peeing. I'm never running out of pee because I have to pee in real life, and then I wake up and then I go pee, and it's all Gucci. But yeah, not really sure what was going on in that one. But the final dream I literally just had. I just had this. It's fresh in my mind. So this is probably going to be the best one to describe. The dream where I cut my dick off. So how I cut my dick off was I closed it in like a bedroom door. Like just like your standard default construction door that everyone has in their houses. I think everyone has the same doors unless you're like super rich and got fancier doors. So I had I don't know why. That's the question you might be asking. Why did you do this? I don't remember that part of the dream. I just remember I had my dick in the door, and I slammed the door, and it just chopped my dick in half. And then, you got part of the dick was on the ground, then just the root, which honestly, after cutting it off, still a good sized root sticking on there. Like literally an entire dick length of dick hanging off my body still. And then the other, like an equal sized portion was down on the floor. So I was very generous to myself in this dream. But I was then in my parents' bathroom, staring in the mirror at the sink. and like taking this little nub that I cut off, and I'm like, okay, well, if I just like stick it back on and pull the skin back down, because it was like a pig in a blanket. Like the foreskin was still all wrapped around it, and then like I just thought if I could just pop it back on and then slide the foreskin down the bottom, then the skin would hold it on, and it would just like naturally reattach. It would just like over time, you know, you bandage it up, and then it would just, the tissues will just grow back together, and it'll be no issues. No one's the wiser. Don't have to tell anyone I cut my dick off in the door. But it wasn't working. I stuck it on, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stick it on, and I'm gonna go pee, and then if I can go pee and I lined it up properly, you know, it'll be fine. And it just, I was peeing in the sink, and it was just like spraying like a hose, just like poked full of holes, just spraying out of the seam where I thought I got it fixed, and nothing was coming out the bottom. It kind of burned a little bit, but in this whole thing, it didn't really hurt. There's not a lot of panic or like fear in my mind in this dream. It was more like, I got a problem to solve, and I'm gonna fix it. You know, can we fix it? Yes, we can. So pee is just like spraying out of the seam. I'm like, oh man, this is not good. So I pull out my phone, and I was trying to Google what to do if cut dick off. But another very common thing I have in my dreams is that like I try and text something or search something, and just the autocorrect does not let me search it, and it's super frustrating. I was trying to, like, I couldn't even get cut my out. Like I would take cut my and be like, I have. I'd be like, no. I'd be like, cut my. And it's like, you are. Cut my. We do. And it's like, I can't. And I remember I yelled in the bathroom like, ah! Like I couldn't do it. And I guess my sister heard that, and she's like, are you okay? And then she came over into the bathroom, and I had my little pig in a blanket wiener was sitting on the counter, and then I had no pants on. And my sister came in and looked at me, and she goes, oh, that's not good. I go, no, it's not. A bit of a pickle. I'm in one, you know? And she goes, did you think you were just gonna nick it? And I was like, yeah, I did. I thought I would just nick it and bounce off. She goes, no, that's too bad. So then we go downstairs, and I tell my parents, and they're both like very calm about the fact that I cut my dick off in the door. Like they were super relaxed about it. And the first thing they do is they say, okay, we got a Ziploc bag, we got to stick it in some ice. And we're like, great. And then so we're like looking in all the cupboards in the freezer, and we could not find ice for the life of us. And then my dad's like, fine, I'll go into my stash. And he opens up the fridge, and he's got like all these like thousands of cubes of ice, and he just takes an armful and dumps it into a Ziploc bag. And then I stick my little Tic Tac dick into the Ziploc bag, and it's like, we're covered. And then so next step, we're like, okay, now we got to go to the hospital, and we'll have to get it sewn back on, because apparently it doesn't just regrow on its own. I also forgot to mention that, I guess before my sister came in, I did like chew on the skin a little bit, because in my head I'm like, well, this isn't the only time I'm gonna get to like see what my dick tastes like. So I was like chewing on the little foreskin end like it's a piece of used gum, and like giving it a little taste, and then put it back on the counter. So yeah, we got my dick in the bag, and we're gonna try and go to the hospital, and we cannot leave the house for whatever reason. I don't remember specifically this part, but I remember we were having a lot of trouble. Like we couldn't get the doors to open, we couldn't get the windows to open, like we could not get out of this house. And then my parents were like, oh right, Max was putting on a magic show, and like he's probably still doing it. He's probably doing this and not letting us leave the house. And I'm like, what poor timing that Max is doing a magic show the same day I cut my dick off. Like this is infuriating that I can't get out of the house. So eventually I like go to the living room where we have like a big bay window. This actually, one of the few dreams where my house was actually like accurate to like what it actually is. So I go to the living room, and I'm like, okay, finally, I've had enough. I gotta get out of here. And I smash out the window, and I jump out the window, and I shout back to my family like, hey, the magic doesn't work out here. You gotta come outside. Like we're free. So my whole family comes outside finally, and we're getting into the Subaru. Oh, farted. Wow, speaking of my dick, look at my dick's on the wall too. If you're watching the video, you can finally see the painting that I filled in the hole with my dick. It's on the wall now if you're watching on YouTube. Yeah, so my whole family comes outside, they climb out the window, and we're getting into the car. And my mom's like, actually, you know what? I'm feeling kind of icky. I don't really want to go to the hospital and see this. It's kind of gross. She's already seen like the dick chopped off and everything. She wouldn't go watch the surgery. Like she's not gonna be in the room. So I don't know what grossed her out at this point, but she's like, I'm just gonna stay here. You guys go. So my dad, my sister, and I, plus Harley, We bring the dog with us. Don't know why. I'll get in the car and start driving down the road to the hospital. Maybe we're in the car for 15 seconds when my dad's phone rings and he answers it while driving. Very dangerous. And he like flips a B. He turns around. And then we're like, what are you doing? Like, we got to get to the hospital, Dad. I'm at this point, I am getting pretty irate because I'm like, I think there's like a time limit, you know, of how long you have until you can reattach it. And I'm like, clock's ticking. Don't know how much time's passed, but we've been trapped in that house for a while. But like, we got to get this dick back on me. And he's like, oh no, that was just your mother. She called me. And she said she wants to walk the dog while we're going to the hospital to kind of take her mind off things. And I'm like, why are you prioritizing walking the dog right now when my dick's not attached? And that got me even more furious. So we try to drive back to the house. And then once again, we cannot find the house. We've barely driven down the road. But like, we keep seeing houses that look like our house. And we pull up to it and like, oh no, that's not a house. We're on the wrong street. We're on Hogland Road. Drive. Then we're like, oh, 3 houses down. That's our house. We drive to that house. Again, not our house. We just cannot find our house. The neighborhood keeps shifting around like we're in that Doctor Strange world where everything's shifting and moving around. And we just could not find our house. And then at one point, we pull up to another fake house. I get out of the car and I'm like, I've had enough of this. I'm done. I'm leaving. And then I wake myself up. And then that occurred 45 minutes ago. And here we are. That was the dream where I cut my dick off. Which I guess is fitting because I guess, yeah, now I always go to bed and wake up looking at my God, it's so hard to like aim your finger in a camera when it's like reversed. I got my dick on the wall, so it's like the first thing I see when I wake up and when I go to bed. Water slurp. But yeah, those are my 3 dreams, and then I was doing some research as to like where these dreams are coming from, and it turns out that like nicotine is like very commonly known to like cause lucid and vivid dreaming, and I have been like hit some nick and then put it away, go to bed, and then I get into these like wild worlds. I guess it does something where like it increases your REM sleep, but decreases the amount of time you're in it. So I guess you are technically getting a worse sleep, but you have like more vivid and like dense, intense dreams. And I've been doing a lot of research on nicotine actually, because of this. And I did mention, when I say a lot of research, I say I read 1 article, 2 actually. I read a paper. I read the abstract of a paper. Okay, I didn't read the entire paper. Because you know how like I had to read a lot of papers like through school, and I hate all scientists writing this like scientific gobbledygook. Like, what's the point of spending your whole life writing this entire paper where then only people in your field can understand it? Like, write something in layman's terms that like an idiot like me can understand. I don't want to have to like Google every 4th word when you're writing your paper. So there's a little tip for all you future scientists out there. But I found this article from Scientific America on all on nicotine. Because it is a nootropic. It is a cognitive enhancer. It actually does a lot of good things for you. And I did want to read. I'm gonna do a little reading for you guys, just to give you some highlights of what this article. And I'm gonna be totally honest with you. This is 100% just a confirmation bias. I went looking. What did I Google here to find this? Nicotine cognitive enhancer. So I did just find the answer to the question I had. I didn't go then also search for, the opposite to kind of balance out both viewpoints. So take this as you will. But this is in Scientific America. I think that's like a reputable science website, They talk to a lot of doctors and professors. So let me find the portion I wanted to talk about. Killing time. Musical interlude. As New York Times Magazine famously put it in 1987, nicotine is as addictive as heroin, cocaine, or amphetamines, and for most people, more addictive than alcohol. But that's just wrong. Tobacco may well be as addictive as heroin, crack, alcohol, and Cherry Garcia combined into one giant crazy sundae. But as laboratory scientists know, getting mice or other animals hooked on nicotine all by its lonesome is dauntingly difficult. As a 2007 paper in the journal Neuropharmacology put it, tobacco use has one of the highest rates of addiction of any abuse drug. Paradoxically, in animal models, nicotine appears to be a weak reinforcer. That same study, like many others, found that other ingredients in tobacco smoke are necessary to amp up nicotine's addictiveness. Those other chemical ingredients, things like acetaldehyde, anabasine, nornicotine, anatibine, continine, and myosin, help to keep people hooked on tobacco on its own. Nicotine isn't enough. But what about nicotine as a cognitive enhancer for people without Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, or any other brain disease? This is a quote. "To my knowledge, nicotine is the most reliable cognitive enhancer that we currently have, bizarrely," said Jennifer Rested, professor of experimental psychology at Sussex University in Britain, when we spoke. "The cognitive enhancing effects of nicotine in a normal population are more robust than you get with any other agent. With Provigil, for instance, the evidence for cognitive benefits is nowhere near as strong as it is for nicotine." And then it goes on to talk about like other countries that have been studying this thing too. And so it says it improves visual attention and working memory, as well as fine motor skills, and something called perspective memory, which is the ability to remember and implement a prior intention. So like when you go to the grocery store and your mom's like, "Hey, pick up a jar of pickles," that's like your perspective memory, and you remember to do that better. So nicotine, yeah, has a ton of like cognitive enhancing effects, which I didn't really know about. I think like a lot of people just think of nicotine and they like think addictive because it's in like cigarettes. But it seems, based on this one article I've read, that it's the tobacco that is addictive, and nicotine on its own is not highly addictive. Now, if you see me puffing on this thing for the past few days, you might think the opposite, but I feel like I'm just a special breed who just, I don't know, I like hitting the nicotine to like my vision, like just like tunnels in, and just my brain fires up and I feel great and I'm ready to go. But yeah, apparently it's not as bad for you as they say. So there's a little tidbit for you guys on nicotine. That was the nicotine portion. This is a pro nicotine message from Air Out. For anyone is owner of a nicotine company, let me know. And I will gladly support your cause. You know who else is great marketing? Sour cream. Sour cream. Why in any world would anyone buy something labeled sour cream? Like Sour Patch Kids, sour candies, I guess like a whiskey sour. Those all make sense as sour as like a flavor enhancer. But on a dairy product, it's like disgusting. You wouldn't buy sour milk. You wouldn't buy sour cheese. You wouldn't buy sour yogurt, you know? But sour cream, everyone's raving about it. So like their marketing team, incredibly well done. Because I made nachos last night and I was just thinking about that. Like sour cream, why would I intentionally buy something that is sour? Like it sounds like it's bad. Because I think sour is like, if you say, "Oh, this milk's gone sour," you say the milk's bad. Yet for sour cream, it's like it's sour, it's perfect. It's exactly how I want it. That was something that got to me. Now, we are firing hot. I did have some more stories I want to talk about. We talked about that story of my friend having a tough time drinking the other week, which feels like ages ago, honestly, that I did that podcast. Interestingly, that last podcast, it's done well. It got good numbers. No one wants to talk to me about it though. I feel like it was so personal. People feel weird like chatting me about it. Like Ethan talked to me about it because like I've known him for so long. It's nothing to him. But like normally at work, people like mention it or like talk about it like some in some instance. But yeah, no one has said a word to me about the last podcast, which is funny. You know, people, don't be afraid. I'm an open book. I won't really volunteer information, but if you ask me, I'll answer all your questions. But yeah, I enjoyed that last podcast too. I thought it was a good one. The one note Ethan said was like he can't tell when it's past Aaron talking or future Aaron when I do those like little interjections, which I think I did it right a few episodes ago where I put like a song behind my interjections, so like it separated them. So I think in the future that's just something I have to keep doing, because I have been also going through and just uploading for the first time all the video podcasts, because I was like 5 episodes behind, and I know there's some people that only watch on YouTube, so I feel like I should like, you know, get them out there for them. And also I do like mention stuff in the video podcast, like, hey, if you see this, you'll see this in the video, and then I don't upload the video for like 6 weeks. Kind of probably frustrating. You want to like hear this and then go watch it right away while it's fresh in your mind, or else you're never going to remember to do it. So I've been trying to get better at doing those. I think I've got like I've just got last week's to get up there, and then I guess obviously this one hopefully I can get up this week. I've been doing like one a day and it seems to be pretty good. Yeah, where is it going with that? Story? A story? You want to hear about my first night out? My first night out on the town as a 18-year-old? You do? Okay, I'll tell you. So the year was 2013, I want to say. No, 2000. It was 2014. I was 18 years old. Well, then maybe it was 2015 because I turned 18 in November 2014, and this was in the summer. So it's 2015. The year was 2015. And I was an 18-year-old, and we were having a Sikanak reunion in downtown Barrie. A Sikanak was my elementary school. So we gathered up. It was like a class of. There's 2 classes of 30, so it was, it's pretty small grade. And I think like maybe 15 or 20 of us had all like gotten together in a Facebook thread and like decided we're gonna go down to Donnelly's in downtown Barrie and just like have some drinks and stuff like that. A lot of them were 19 already, so it was no problem for them. But me being a young boy, it was actually gonna be tough for me to get into the bar. So we get down there, we get downtown, we're chatting like, okay, how are we gonna get everyone into the bar? I was one of the few underagers, and I think other people were just like, I'm not gonna drink. But I was like, this was at the point where I'm like, okay, yeah, drinking is cool, drinking's hip, and I'm gonna be one of the cool kids. So one of my buddies, Sean, he's like, hey, I just got my full G, and I still have my G2, so you can use my G2 as an ID, and because his birthday's in February, and I'll just walk around the block, and I'll use my G to get in, and it'll be no problem. So I was like, I hesitantly say yes, because I'm like worried I'm gonna get caught and arrested and like sent to Guantanamo Bay for using a fake ID. So I'm like on the street corner, like studying everything about Sean's ID, his postal code, his birth date, his height, absolutely everything. And I remember this like drunk lady walked by, and she's like, "Oh, you look great. You'll get in just fine. You're doing perfect." And I was like a little reinforced. I was like, "Oh yeah, thank you." So I memorized his ID, and then we get in there's a big line at the bar like to get in. So we get in line and we're waiting, and then I finally, there's like 2 people ahead of me, and Sean finishes his lap around the block, gets in line right behind me. They couldn't have been in a worse spot. And we're using, I think his ID photo was the same on his G2 and his G. So it's essentially the same ID, just one has a different license type on it. And now I'm really panicking because I'm like, obviously the guy's gonna look at the ID, look at me, and then seeing the guy who's actually in the picture right behind me. We don't look that similar at all. Sean's like a blonde. We're like the same height, and that's about it. So I give it to the bouncer, and he's looking at it, and he looks at me, and he goes, "You sure look different, eh?" And I went, "Yeah, puberty." And he looks back down at the ID, looks back at me, hands it, and says, "Have a good night." And I walk in, I'm like, no way. And I think for sure that this guy saw like all my 19-year-old friends get in, and I feel like he was feeling bad. He's like, you know what, this kid's probably, he looks the same age as them, so he's probably like just shy of his birthday. We'll let him have a good night. And he let me in, and then Sean got in, no problem as well. So, past the first barrier, getting into the bar, and then the rest of this night is just, it gets blurrier and blurrier. I think we probably started with beers, just having pictures, and then people started getting like weird drinks. I remember I saw one guy got this like, it was like a big mug and then a shot in the middle and then covered in whipped cream. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is that? That looks delicious. And he goes, it's a muff diver. And I like flagged the waitress down. I was like, one muff diver right here, please, waitress. And she brought it over. And I guess you like, I don't know, you like somehow do the shot in the drink at the same time. And like, you got like, oh, you dive into the whipped cream, grab the shot with your mouth, do the shot, and then drink the rest of the drink. That's why muff diver. Muff is a term for vagina, isn't it? Isn't muff, is that like bush or vagina? Am I wrong here? And then like you come out and you got like whipped cream all over your mouth. I think that's where it comes from. That was like the fanciest drink I remember having. And honestly, all the time at the bar, it was just like chatting, making jokes, having like your typical pub night. And I was thinking I was a pretty lightweight at this time. Or was I? I don't know. I think the first time I drank beers, I had like 15 beers. And that's like, getting to the double digits on your first night. Kind of legendary. So we're at the bars, and then, people start petering out over the time. Me and my friends like to full send it every time. Like there's no such thing as having like a casual beer. If you're having a beer, you're going all the way. So there's like maybe 6 or 7 of us that are just like pounding drinks and making a night of it, where like all the responsible people are like having a few, coming in, chatting, catching up, and leaving. So when it's down to like this smaller number of 6 of us, the boys decide that they want to go to the strip club, and I did not like that whatsoever. I was not interested in going to the strip club, seeing women be exploited like that. How dare they? You know, I was freaking out. So we walked down the street to I think it was called Silver Star or Silver City. I don't know if it's still there. It might have like lost itself during COVID. And again, everyone walks in, and I have Sean's fake ID still. And I go up to the bouncer, and I immediately say, "This is a fake ID. I'm 18 years old." And he goes, "Excuse me?" And I go, "I should not be allowed in here. I am 18 years old." And I hand him the ID. And the guy looks at it and goes, "Okay, well, that's not good. You're not getting in, and I'm gonna hold on to this." And I'm like relieved, honestly. I'm like, "Oh, thank God, I don't have to go into the strip club." And then, so it's probably like 5 minutes or so pass, and our other buddy calls us. And he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And then like Aaron explained that he's underage and gave away his ID, so he can't get into the bar or the strip club. So then he has to come down, talks to the bouncer. Turns out not a bouncer at all. It was just a dude outside having a smoke, and I was just too drunk to understand. And so he kind of like chats to him and was like, "Hey, hey, what's going on? Can we get our ID back? And we're gonna go inside." And he's like, "Yeah, you got to get a hold on that guy though. He's a loose cannon. You should get him home." And we ended up all going inside the strip club. It was a horrible place, just super dark and stinky. A bunch of like middle-aged dudes just sitting around having drinks and like gawking at women. We sat like right up at the stage, and the same guy that passed out on the veranda in the last story ended up passing out with his head on the stage, just sleeping as the strippers are all dancing around him. And I think there's like a 2-drink minimum or something, and drinks are like $12 each. It's absolute ripoff. I remember still tipping them. I don't know why I was still being generous with tips. But that's just like a thing I do. And when I went to New Jersey and like for hockey games and stuff, I just give away my money to homeless people, because I'm like, I don't know, I just feel like a baller. But then we get to like a hockey arena, I'm like, I'm out of cash. I got no money left. I gave it all to homeless people. Only the black homeless people though, because I guess I'll have like some white savior complex or something. And if there's like a white homeless guy, I'm like, you'll be fine. You don't need it. And then there's like a black guy beside. I'm like, it's all yours, sir. And then all the others like realize that I'm the guy giving away money, and I'm just surrounded by homeless people. Yeah, so I like giving away money to people. It seems I'd be a great rich person. I'd just be handing out cash left, right, and center. So yeah, we spend, I don't know, maybe like half an hour at the strip club, and then we finally decided to leave and trying to get home. It was just another mission. And we were walking around the lakeshore, which Barrie's like beautiful lakeshore, absolutely gorgeous. It's a great walk. It's a nice summer night, just walking around the water. And our buddy's just like taking everyone's phone and just calling every contact, trying to see if someone will pick them up. He made like 40 calls on that walk. No one ever picked up. And like over time, people would just like give up and grab cabs. So like the group just got smaller and smaller until it was down to just like 2 of us, the guy who had been calling everyone on their phones. And I just like, okay, fine, I'm going to call a cab and we'll go crash my brother's place. And then we got a cab and crashed his brother's place. And that was my first night out. The Sicknack reunion. Went to a bar with a fake ID, went to a strip club with a fake ID. I remember at one point I had run away from the group. And I think this was before we went to the strip club. Because I really didn't want to go. And I just ran down an alleyway away from the group and hid behind a dumpster. And I was like, okay, they're gonna give up on the strip club, they're gonna go looking for me, and then I can go home. And I think I squatted behind the dumpster for like 2 minutes before I'm like, this feels really dangerous. No one knows where I am. I'm alone and very drunk, hiding in an alleyway with no view from the street. I could easily get like killed, mugged, robbed, whatever. And then I got really scared there and I'd rather go to a strip club, I guess, than get mugged in an alleyway. So yeah, that was my first big night out. I think I'd maybe only drank like once or twice before that. I think we had a New Year's party before that where I got really drunk. We started the night with like Ethan like laid out like 5 or 6 different types of hard alcohols, and I'm like, I'm gonna try each one. And I took a shot of every single one, never doing hard alcohol before, and they're all disgusting. They're all horrible. You do a shot and you're like, oh, another one please. Delicious. Like Di Serono, rum, vodka, whatever, just a whole smorgasbord of hard alcohols. And that night I remember like blacking out and then coming to in the middle of a Mario Party game. And the crazy thing was I was doing well in Mario Party 2. It was like turn 6, and I just like remember like waking up on the couch, but like being awake, but just like regaining consciousness and being like, how did I get 200 coins and 4 stars? I have no memory of any of this. That was probably my first like really heavy night. And then the first time drinking, I had like 15 Bud Lights in my buddy's basement and got stink faced by Haley Waller. She just repeatedly shoved her ass in my face. And I didn't enjoy that either, honestly. You know, I don't know what to tell you. Don't like strip clubs, don't like asses in my face. It's not doing well for my my masculinity, my machoism. I guess I'm just a feminist, you know? That's what it comes down to. But yeah, those are the stories for this episode. My dick is on the wall, as I mentioned before. It kept falling off the wall, so I kept it like I had it beside the door where you can't see where I'm looking, that wall essentially, and it fell off and it sat on the floor for a while. And then I just remembered that you know, the story I wrote and I talked about, I didn't write, the story I read and talked about a while, The Alchemist. There's like the king who like guides the shepherd through his journey. It's like, follow the omens in life and you will find your path. So I'm like, after like 2 weeks of staring at my dick on the floor, I was like, maybe it's not meant to be on this wall. Maybe it's supposed to fill in that final gap on the art wall. So I hung it up there. Now just proudly displaying my member to the world. Which, I mean, you can't get a super good angle at it, but you can definitely identify that it is a penis. Definitely cock-like in its shape. Very hairy though. That's it. As I mentioned, I guess Ethan's probably the only one that's seen this, because no one else has come in my room. So now it's proudly on display. It is for sale if you would like to buy it. And I guess I gotta take a picture of this whole wall, because I've had a couple people be like, hey, I'd be interested in buying a painting. I had a thought today though. What if I like talk to Westmount, set up a little booth in the parking lot at Westmount, let the rich folks bid on it? They don't know any better. They just got money to spend. And they'll be like, wow, this guy works at Westmount, like an employee. I guess no, I'm a greens crew. They'd be like, this is garbage. This is trash. They just like burn them all and like throw stones at me because I'm just like a laborer, just a blue collar guy. They hate that. They hate the workforce. But it would be cool if I could just like sell them for like 10 grand to some like wealthy grandma. I mean, I just gotta like start hitting on older ladies and be like, I'm an artist. If you'd like to buy some of my art and finance my trip next year, which actually through watching Malcolm in the Middle, I was like, I kind of want to go to Alaska. You know, I feel like I was always using BC as like my final destination on the West Coast, but what if I just kept going? And like, I think Alaska is beautiful in the summer. I remember I watched a documentary. Was it Expedition Happiness? It was something like that on Netflix, where it's like this German couple and they fly over to Canada. They buy a school bus and like rebuild it themselves into this like traveling home, and then they just travel around with their dog, like across Canada into Alaska, then down south and go all the way into South America. Really cool documentary, like super kind of definitely like inspired me to like want to do this trip. But like their time in Alaska was just gorgeous. Like I don't want to be there in the winter time, but I think that'd be a very cool spot. Like how many people can say they've been to Alaska? I feel like not a huge amount of people, you know, and it's connected to us. It's like it's part of our continent. Might as well see it. So that's on the list now. Go to Alaska. So just drive west and then head north at some point into Alaska. I think that'd be cool. Go fight some grizzly bears or something. Maybe bring a gorilla with me and finally test that battle. Who's gonna win? Full-size Kodiak or full-size Silverback? You know, it's the Kodiak for sure though. If you were wondering, first instinct is to say Silverback. I know. I said Silverback too, because I'm like, oh, they got they're big, strong muscles. They can just like pound and stuff. But dude, a full-size Kodiak is like 1,500 pounds and its Silverback's like 400. Like it's got so much weight on him. Razor blades on its hands, razor blades in its mouth. Like the gorilla's it's got no chance. And we're talking like a wrestling ring, you know? There's no rocks or sticks the gorilla can use. It's just animal on animal. The Kodiak's gonna slay it. Like there's no chance. Maybe you could find some environments where like the gorilla can like swing around trees and like use weapons and kind of fight it like from a distance, but anything that's close quarters combat, like just once the bear gets its claws or teeth sunk into the gorilla, like it's gonna do so much damage, and then it's just like it's bleeding out, it's gonna lose energy. It's done. So unfortunately, there's like a lot of animal rights groups and stuff that we can't actually just like test this. Which I don't know. Like I wouldn't want to watch it because I like both those animals. I don't want to see animals get hurt. But there's just like this. It's piqued my interest and it's piqued my curiosity. So that's something. That's something. I did have one more story written down just about how I'm very bad at saying no. If you guys want to hear it. Yeah. Okay. So we were living at Churchill Street. And we're all just like chilling in the living room, watching TV. It's wintertime, and the doorbell goes, and I'm sitting closest to the door, so I'm like, okay, I'll get it. I get up and go to the door, open the door. This is kind of like, I believe she's like a kind of a cute girl, and she was working for Bell, and I guess she's like she's selling Fibe internet, if that's like their high speed thing. She was like going around the neighborhood trying to get people signed up for it. So I'm like standing at the door, and she's like, what internet? Come on, Aaron. Come on, what internet do you guys have? And I'm like, oh, we have Tech Savvy. She's like, oh, well, I've got a deal for you. And she starts talking about like the Fibe internet that they're installing all around here. And I guess they're getting like the fiber optic line put in. They're like trying to get like customers to like sign up to do it when the installation's done. So I just let her go on her spiel because I don't have that like I'm not interested, thank you, and like close the door on her face. I'm too polite for that. So I just let her like talk and like describe this whole thing to me. She's asking me questions. And then we're at one point, she's like, okay, so do you have like an ID on you? And I'm like, oh, of course I do. And pull up my driver's license to give it to her. And she starts like copying my information down onto a piece of paper. And I'm like, oh boy, I have definitely signed up for something that I don't want. And then she like hands the paper back to me, has me like fill out more things and like signing things. I remember at one point she's like, I'm like shivering and frigid because I'm like wearing a t-shirt and it's like 20 below outside. She's like, are you cold? I'm like, no, I'm absolutely fine, just freezing in the doorway. And ended up signing up us to get Bell internet after like a 15-minute conversation with this girl. Just like, I don't know, at no point did I ever just say, no, I'm not interested, thank you. I think like somehow I had given her so much like attention that she thought I was interested in it, and then at that point I was too far in that I felt weird saying no at that point because I felt like I was leading her on in her sales pitch. Yeah. So we talked for like 15 minutes, and then finally she leaves and gives me like a receipt and like, okay, they will call you and your installation date is set for Thursday. And then she leaves and I close the door and I walk back in the living room and they're like, yeah, Aaron, what were you just like, who were you talking to? And I was like, I just signed us up for Bell internet, but don't worry, I'll take care of it. So they're like, okay, fine, whatever. That's on you because it's your name and your credit card. So you'd be paying for it anyways. No skin off their back. They just get better internet out of it. They being Will and Ethan. So eventually, like, Bell calls to like confirm. They called like Wednesday, like, hey, just confirm your installation for Thursday. And I'm like, actually, no one's gonna be home Thursday. We got to reschedule. And they're like, okay, when would you like to reschedule for? I'm like, I don't know. We're going away, so maybe we can like give you a call back and we can schedule it then. Like, okay, fine. Just give us a call at this number anytime, and then we'll charge your credit card on the installation day. So I haven't paid any money yet, and just never called him back. Problem solved. Just never heard from him. Don't know what happened, but yeah, my inability to say no almost made me pay like $100 a month for internet that I did not want because it was too awkward to say no to a cute girl. But there you go. There's that last story. Do they make like a vocal lubricant, like some kind of drink you can have that just like just coats your throat? Maybe there's like a tea or something you can do that just like, because water just like it just goes down and then already my throat's getting dry again just from talking so much. I gotta look into that. I see what's going on, but other than that, wow, another podcast in the books. 55 minutes and episode 46, getting close to that. Was it 46? Is that really it? We're 6 weeks away from 52, I guess. Yeah, I started this thing September 7th or so, like first, I guess, into second week of September, and we did miss a week, so yeah, that makes sense actually. But yeah, getting close to that 1 year, getting close to the 1 year of no drinking too, which is big if true, and it is true, so it is big. But other than that, we got yoga here in 50 minutes, and then I got to edit this podcast and get it out to you young folk and a couple older folk too. So hope you guys all enjoy it. Other than that, yeah, that was just a rambling podcast, which they all are. So Hopefully it suits your standards. Hopefully those dreams were entertaining. I think now looking back, reflecting on this podcast, I think like the first story where everyone hated me, not a great one. The poop one, a little better. But I think the cut my dick off dream that I just had. Thank God I just had that. That was huge. That could have been a podcast saver. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you had a great July. Hope you're gonna have a great August, and we're getting through the rest of this 2022. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys next Monday. Take it easy, folks. Aaron, out.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed your stay. Now take what you learned and have a great day. Damn, it feels good to air out.